Well, I'm always been very interested in the idea of the way that we react to our environments and the way that we actually fit into our environments, whether that's you know, a place that we've grown up in or a place that we visit, you know, and I'm quite interested in this idea of, you know, single figures in landscapes or in spaces, and the idea that they can have sort of a dialogue with each other. The place and the person actually become symbols in themselves. The use of children in the work creates something which, when the viewer looks at the work, I'm hoping that there's an automatic connection there, based on the fact that you know, automatically we're all children at some point in our own lives. You know, but often when you're looking at these works, you know, I'm often obscuring the children's faces, or I'm turning them around, or I mean, in some cases, you know, the faces are sort of erased, and really what that does is it allows the viewer to be able to project themselves into the work. I mean, it works on a number of levels, but that's probably the most immediate purpose that actually serves, of obscuring or yeah, sort of constraining the works. And I guess something that it also does by doing that is by projecting the viewer into the work, it allows them to consider themselves. Maybe it might be nostalgic, thinking back to a point where they were young, and also, you know, I mean, probably we don't see children actually in these environments all that often, but when the viewer looks back at it, I hope that it might be, maybe in some way it might act as a memento mori, you know, a sort of a reminder of our own mortality. You know, you look back at a work you look at one of the children in the works, and it gives you this indication that the child looks forwards into the future, and you start to think about your own life too. So the paintings which have no figures at all, I've really, I guess what I'm really trying to do there, I mean, they can either be read as traditional landscapes, but really what I'm trying to do is that in context of the whole exhibition, they provide an opportunity for the viewer just to place themselves in there, to stand there. I mean, most of the times I use the tool of perspective in the works as that way. You know, traditionally the use of perspective makes it a fairly egocentric artwork where the viewer automatically sees themselves in that work. You know, it's interesting that, you know, thinking about the ways that we even view spaces and different places and things like that, that the way that we in our Western culture look at artworks is that we often make artworks or view artworks as in, where do I fit into that artwork? You know, and I thought it was really interesting that, you know, in another culture, you know, say, you know, desert art, where you're looking down from above onto the work, that those artworks are always looking at it not from where the individual fits into it, but rather as the story that it tells about a culture, rather than one individual person. ones where they're sort of open, wide landscapes. I'm interested that those are often places that we don't actually go to very much. You know, especially if we live in the city or if we live in the suburbs, we tend to stay in fairly confined sort of environments. And even often when we go on holidays, we go to places where there is something, you know, unique or geographical about that location. And often, I guess what I'm trying to look at is that I'm really interested in those places that we pass when we're going to somewhere else. You know, so it might be the landscape that you go through when you're on a train, or the landscape that you go through when you're in the car. You've been driving through, you know, at maybe 100, 110 kilometres an hour, and you see everything go past you so quickly, but when you actually finally stop, there's, you know, you might be in, you know, just on the side of the road, and there might just be, you know, trees next to you, or gravel, or, you know, in the desert. It's amazing that there's just amazing wide open space. But there's a sound about that environment and something about the feel of that environment. I've been working a lot just in the last week, and probably for the next 2 weeks before the show opens, just on producing quite a lot of small ink works. And I like doing them because they're so different from working with oils. When I work with oils, I always feel like I can paint over what I've done if I've made a mistake, and I always feel very controlled in the way that I work with oils. You know, I know the characteristics of how the medium works, and with ink, I really like the idea that it's a difficult medium to control, but it's got its own inherent characteristics, and it's just beautiful to work with. It does its own thing, and you can control it, but at the same time, it still wants to pull away from you. I also like the idea with these that by keeping them really nice and small, I can start something and I can finish it in the morning, or I can finish the day and have 3 or 4 works, you know, 2 or 3 which may end up in the bin, but one which might just capture something of what I was feeling when I was making that work.